your adorable adopted calves, Fancy, Little Bit, and Shiloh. First, this live chat is part of the Adopt a Cow program. More than 40,000 teachers and 1 million students get to enjoy this program for free thanks to our generous supporters like the Dairy Alliance and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. The Adopt a Cow and Discover Dairy programs are the free online resources that cover Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy to teach those lessons. The resources can be found at discoverdairy.com, and we'll go ahead and put it in the chat feature for you so you can access those resources anytime you'd like. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow Fund next year. So if you're interested in joining again and you had a great experience, or you happen to come across this live chat and you want to learn more about it and join the program next year, you're welcome to do that starting May 1st. May 1st, you can easily re-enroll or register at discoverdairy.com/adopt. Next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you will see that chat feature is enabled. Please feel free to use the chat feature, comment, and ask questions all throughout the chat. We do ask that you please keep those questions and comments school appropriate and related to our chat. We are very excited to hear your questions, and I know Farmer Chris is happy to answer them. Before we jump over to Farmer Chris, let's see who is joining us today. So let's take a look at that chat and say hello to some of our classes. So first thing in the morning, we had Barberville Elementary first grade saying good morning. So hello, good morning back to you all. We're excited to have you. We've got WB Muncie first grade class in Leslie County. Hello and welcome. Got some folks from Barron County, a preschool. We've got Pathways of Grace Christian Academy in Pulaski County. Hello and good morning. We've got Mrs. Baker's third grade class in Hazel Green Elementary. Scrolling down here a little bit further, we've got Mrs. Bartley's fourth grade class in Bath County. So hello and welcome. We've got some Munfordville Elementary School. We have Creekside Elementary School, Eastview Elementary School, and let's see, Lewisburg Elementary School, and many, many more. You guys are awesome. We're so excited to hear from you all this morning. Please continue to letting us know where you're coming from and continue using that chat to go ahead and ask your questions. We will do our best to get to as many of them as we can live. So with that, I am pleased to introduce you to Farmer Chris. Hey, Farmer Chris, how are you doing today?
Good morning. How are all of you?
Hello. We are doing great, and we've got a lot of really excited folks joining us today. So thank you so much for taking time out today and spending your morning with us.
Well, welcome to Triple H Dairy. As most of you all have read about, and you followed throughout the course of the year, we're a small dairy farm located in Metcalfe County in a little bitty town called Center, Kentucky. This farm has been here since the 1940s. We've been milking since then. My dad had the vision of going to grade A dairy, built a new dairy barn back in the early 70s. We've done some updates to the dairy barn and updates to our calf facilities and different things. And now we milk on average about 50 head of cows year round. We milk one of every breed. I hope your teachers have taken the time to explain to you the 7 dairy breeds. So we don't really focus all on Holsteins or all on different things. We milk Holsteins, Guernseys, Jerseys. We have one of every dairy breed here at the farm that we milk. Now the farm is family run. Basically, we hire one person that helps us do some of the milking, but other than that, it's all run by the family. And even the camera worker today is my mom. She told me I couldn't tell anybody that she was doing anything today, but I have my mom out here because all of our kids are on a field trip today. So they chose to go on a field trip rather than to come help me on the farm today and do this video. But mom will take care of it. She's going to do a good job on the camera. So I know y'all been following us and you've been looking at some of the pictures and stuff, and you've been watching the calves grow, and you've been watching them develop throughout the year. And so we're going to meet some of those calves here because I know that's what you're excited about. But they're doing really well. Some of the calves you're going to get to see have already had haircuts. I know we may not have talked about that earlier, but the 3 calves that we're talking about that were in the adopted calf program, a little bit fancy in Shiloh, are all show calves. So we've already started giving them haircuts to get them used to getting haircuts. Now they're all tied on a halter this morning. Now the procedure for us is once these little calves come out of their stall, once they get off of milk and they get weaned, we turn them out in a lot and let them run and let them play and let them develop their legs and everything. And then as it gets closer to showtime, we start breaking them to a halter to where my kids can just lead them around on a halter. And so they're kind of sort of in that process, but I'm assuming probably most of you all have like recess or something like that, or you get excited at school when the teacher gives you something. That's kind of how these calves get excited sometimes when you put them on a halter. They just want to go. They don't want to do what you want them to do. They don't want to go where you want them to go. So we work with them and do that. So this morning they may be a little jumpy when we start talking about them and introducing them, but you know they will be fine, and you'll be fine, and you'll get to see some of them. So I guess, Brittany, are we ready to look at the three calves that we've done, or are we?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you introduce us to each one, if you can remind us who they are, about when they were born, and how are they growing? What are they eating? And remind us of their breeds, because I know you mentioned you have all the different breeds on the farm, and I've got a follow-up question on that later, but we'll focus on the cows now, and then we'll ask that question later. So I'll let you spotlight each one and give us a little update on how they're doing.
And before I go any further, first of all, let me thank the teachers, because I'm a retired school administrator. I was a PE teacher, assistant principal, worked in the central office for years. So teachers, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule that's really busy focusing on curriculum and testing and all this stuff to introduce these kids to dairy and what life is on a dairy farm. And I really appreciate that. That means a lot to us dairy farmers. And as a former administrator, this program wasn't around when I was back teaching in the classroom. So I think it's awesome. I think it's great. It's my first time doing it. I love it. I'll be glad to do it anytime that Brittany and Discover Dairy, those people want me to help out with it. So teachers, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for those of you that adopted Little Bit, this is now Little Bit. If you remember Little Bit, I think it's the one that really took off. She got off to a slow start. As you can tell, she's a little bit high strung. She's high spirited, but this is Little Bit. Little Bit. It's going to be a little difficult because but if I wanted to measure Little Bit today, to measure Little Bit's height, Little Bit is going to be somewhere around 46 inches tall.
Wow.
And she's probably going to weigh close to, I'm going to guess her, because I no longer can pick her up and put her on a scale or do anything, but I'm going to guess her probably somewhere around 375 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
So somewhere in that. Little Bit gets fed twice a day, every day. She gets a 22% show pellet. So she's now on a high protein pellet that hopefully will keep her sharp and keep her correct and keep her growing and get her large. And then she gets to eat, all the hay she wants to eat. Now that's a little bit different from you as a person. My youngest son would like to eat 24/7, but my wife will not allow him to eat all the time. But Little Bit gets to eat all she wants to eat. So if you'll notice, Little Bit is next on the haircut list. We've left Little Bit a little bit long with her hair, but when you look at Little Bit and you talk about show and you talk about things, Little Bit, she's got a really good feet and legs down here where her feet and legs at, everything straight. They don't break, they don't bend, and that's exactly what you want with a show cattle. She's got a really deep body in here with her stomach, and that's one thing that we want. And like I said, she's going to be, Molly, if you'll come a little closer, she's going to be broke to this halter pretty well. And by the time the Kentucky State Fair gets here in August, really by the time that the first fair comes in May, my boys and my niece they'll have her walking around And actually, part of you all could even walk her around. They'll have her calm down so much.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is a little bit, and like I said, she's really grown a lot. She's really developed a lot. She was really little when she was born and really small, and she struggled a little bit moving, but she's taken off here lately, and she eats really good, and that caused her to have to grow. So that
Awesome.
there's a little bit for those
Oh,
of you with little bit.
yeah, we're so glad she's
Now,
doing so well. We've had a bunch of people saying they love seeing her. We can't believe how much Little Bit has grown. And hopefully everyone that has Little Bit, you can mark her new heights and weights now on your growth chart because she has definitely grown from the last update we had.
and right, and now we'll look to Fancy. Now Fancy has really grown. Fancy, she
Yeah.
grew a little bit early, and then I think she kind of, for me, she kind of stopped and she kind of held off, and then so Fancy's looking right at 49 inches right now if we measure her. So she's going to be close to that 50-inch mark. And if you'll notice, it's a little easier for me to talk about Fancy. Fancy's a little more calm. She's a little bit more relaxed. She's a little bit more of a relaxed calf. She doesn't spook real easy. She doesn't, I can play with her and she kind of lets me. She loves, I don't know if Cade, my youngest son, I don't know if he's done this or what, but this will be his calf to show, he says. And if you'll notice, when I rub her behind the ear, she just kind of lays her head over and just, but that's kind of a trait for Cade because when he's showing them, he likes to rub those calves behind their ears. And so when he's getting her up to halter break her, he rubs on their head, and each one of my kids do it different. And
Oh,
and so he's already got her calmed down enough to where she can be rubbed a lot. And she's looking at me right now, sniffing me, wanting to know. But if you'll notice, the same thing goes with Fancy. When you talk about her legs and how straight they are, they don't break right in here. She's really, really got a deep body. If I want to really
a
be
deep body.
correct across the top, she's really straight. That's the first three things that the judges are going to look at. Now, she has had a haircut. I don't know, Mom, if you'll come closer. She's got a haircut, and I'm going to let Mom get up here as close as she can to see you. We
Hmm.
basically have give her a mohawk. So for those of you that don't know, when you go to a show ring, you want the top of the animal to be really small. So we'll take a blow dryer and we'll pull this hair up just like this right here, and we'll get it really straight. And then we'll take a pair of cutters and we'll cut it off really straight, put hairspray on it, and make it look like where her top line through here is just really, really perfectly straight.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of a little trick that people use when they're showing animals. And
Yeah. So
um,
show cows,
so
their
Fancy's
their their
one that she
go-to
will
haircut is a mohawk.
their go-to haircut is a mohawk.
I love it.
So that's kind of what Fancy. You all make sure that you have any questions. I mean, if I had to say with Fancy, I'm going to say Fancy's probably going to weigh. I would guess her probably at 425 pounds now.
Oh,
Because Fancy really, really likes to eat. We have to be careful with Fancy because she's going to eat anything and everything, grass, string, everything. So you have to watch Fancy because she's more temperamental. She will, you come in this lot, Fancy's going to come to you. If you
oh my
come in this
goodness.
lot, little bit's going to say, okay, he's going to put me on that halter, so I'm going to the other end of the field. So, but Fancy likes to be rubbed on and played with, and she loves to eat. So we have to watch her so she don't get too fat. But now she's gonna. If I could do anything with Fancy and make her different, I wish I could make her just a little bit taller. If I could get her just a little bit taller, then she would be really, really where we need her to be. But she's a
Oh,
good calf, and my boys are going to love her.
that's
So
awesome.
remind your questions about Fancy because now we're going to move on to Shiloh. And if you'll notice, Shiloh doesn't even like there's anything going on because she's laid down taking a nap. Come on, Shiloh,
Oh,
you got to get up. All right, so Shiloh, if you'll notice, you're going to be able to compare right here. Shiloh without measuring her, she's going to be close to 50 inches because she's about the same size. She might be a little about an inch smaller than Fancy. So Shiloh's going to be somewhere around that 49-inch mark or
Okay.
50. She's not grown a whole lot since her last time. She's kind of and calves do that. Calves are a lot like kids.
Hmm.
If you notice, you as kids, you may grow 1 year and you may grow 3 or 4 or 5 inches 1 year, and then the next year you may only go 2 inches. Calves are the same way. It's just they do theirs quicker.
Hmm.
They get to their size that they're going to be a lot quicker in year wise than kids do. So Shiloh's already had her haircut. She had hers a long time before Fancy, but you can tell she's still got her mohawk. Everything's the same right there with her mohawk. And Shiloh is the same as Fancy, and she's the same as Little Bit. She's really correct in her feet and legs. She has good straight feet and legs. She's got a pretty decent rib on her. She's really, really thin and not very thick and got a dairy head and neck. And, really, when a lot of kids come out to the farm, which we do allow kids to come out to the farm and do visits and different things, a lot of them will say, those calves, you can see their ribs. Well, most people are used to beef calves. And with beef animals, you want them to be big and kind of fat and have a big barrel on them. With dairy cows, you want to be able to see their ribs. That's kind of what they're looking for. They don't want a cow. They don't want a dairy cow that's just overweight and fat and different things. So,
Right.
but now Shiloh's probably not. When you get behind her, she's probably not as thick and big boned as Fancy. So she's probably going to be more in that weight of that 375 pound with Little Bit. But
Wow.
she's doing well. She's the same way. As you can tell, my niece will show Shiloh this summer, and she's already done a good job with her, calming her down and working with her ear. Now she doesn't like you, as you'll notice. I was rubbing her ear, and she let me know that she didn't like that. She be rubbed on her neck because that's where my niece Cassidy. That's kind of where she pets with them and plays with them when she has them tied up is their neck. So
Hmm.
each one of them is the same. They each have their own attitude, so and personality. And you just, as a farmer and people that are going to show them, you just have to learn what that personality is of that calf. And
Hmm.
and the calves will learn the personality of, we have some older cows that's been shown for a long time, and I can't do a whole lot with them. But my boys and my niece and my nephew, they can do anything they want to with them because they showed them and they were around them and they are used to them and they're settled in with them. So
Hmm.
it's really interesting as to how calves' personality, if you're a teacher or you've been a teacher in your life, calves' personality as they grow up are a lot like kids. They're active, they're playful, they get mad, they have attitudes, they do things you don't want them to do. But then they take a moment that they can be sweet and love on you and lick on you, and there's a whole lot of similarities between dairy farmer and raising calves and being a school teacher.
That's awesome. They are definitely just chilling out with us this morning. We've gotten a lot of love, Farmer Chris, from a bunch of people just saying, like, we're so excited to see Shiloh. That's from Miss Esham. We have Custer Elementary second graders saying we've loved watching Fancy grow. Miss McDermott was saying we loved watching Little Bits updates. We've had another folks that said we love the Mohawks and love Fancy's Mohawk. So lots of love for all of these ladies. Thank you so much for giving a great update on all of them. While you were sharing those updates, we've had some pretty good questions come in. Are you ready to answer some of our questions today?
Yeah, let's answer some questions.
All right. So you actually had mentioned that a bunch of them will be going to a fair and getting ready to be shown. They were just curious what show or what fair they'll be attending.
Well, there's numerous county fairs. Um, we down in the area that we live in, we'll go to most of the county fairs that surround us. Barron, Metcalf, Green, Monroe, Warren,
Mhm.
Hart. I'm trying to name them all. Taylor County, Bullitt County, up next to Louisville, and then um, we will be showing these animals at the Kentucky State Fair, which is the third week in August.
Okay.
And then depending on how they do there, we just have to wait and see. We will probably, there is a show in Madison, Wisconsin, and then there's another show in Louisville called the National International Livestock Show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's a lot of shows around through the country, but most of it will be locally at county fairs.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Awesome. Perfect. We had a question from Miss Esham's class in Lewis County. They're wondering, what is the average gallons of milk that a cow can produce in one day? It's a question.
A lot of that, that's a great question. A lot of that's going to depend on your cow. We have cows. Milk is weighed like 8 pounds. 8 pounds. 8 pounds of milk makes a gallon. That's kind of
Okay.
it's actually 8.6. We talk to kids. We talk about it good even. So 8 pounds, because we weigh our milk in jugs of 8 pounds. So every 8 pounds is a gallon. So
Okay.
right now, if your dairy herd is averaging 70 pounds of milk a day,
Hmm.
then that's going to be somewhere around 8 gallons of milk a day that each cow is producing. So,
Yeah.
but it's just
Wow.
an average, and it's just there's some cows that'll milk well over 100 pounds a day, and then
Hmm.
some, as they've been milking for a little while, then they're getting ready to have another calf, they really slack off and they go down to like 30 or 40. So it just depends on the cow and the time, how long they've been milking and all of that stuff. But on average, I would say somewhere between 5 and 8 gallons of milk a day.
Wow. That sounds like, and you have how many cows milking on your farm right now?
Right now, I have 48.
So
That's
48
a whole. That's a
times that many gallons a day. That's a lot of milk you guys are producing. Plenty to be able to feed a bunch of these classes, that's for sure.
Yep, that's exactly right.
I love that. This is a good question from Kate from Cooker's class. They were just wondering, is it hard to take care of cows? What's it like being a dairy farmer and taking care of cows?
It's a I won't say that it's hard, but somebody has to be here to do it every day, twice a day. Cows are fed in the mornings. Usually, somewhere I start my day somewhere between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, feeding all these cows. Everything on this farm gets fed and has breakfast before I get breakfast. So,
Wow.
and then somewhere around between 4 o'clock and 5 or 5:30 in the afternoon, they're all fed again. So everything is fed twice a day, and that's the difficult part about being a dairy farmer is if you're going to go on vacation or you're going to go watch your kids play a ball game or something like that, you have to make sure somebody is here to take care of the calves because they're not like humans. They can't take care of themselves. They can't go to the
Right.
refrigerator and get their own food. We do have hay out for them to eat, but because if you just left green out all the time, they would just keep eating and eating and eating, and it wouldn't be good on them. But
Sure.
now to talk about that, for me to, I guess, relate this to school stuff, most of you all
Mhm.
have to have shots or vaccinations to come to school. Every so many years they tell you, hey, you got to have shots, or you got to get a flu shot, or you got to get, all of
Mhm.
these shots. Calves are the same way. Twice a year, every animal on this farm gets vaccinated.
Wow.
They get a shot to help them, hopefully keep them from getting sick, hopefully keep them from getting any of the diseases, just like kids. So as I said, dairy farming is a whole lot like raising kids and different things because and a lot of it depends. Like uh, all of these calves were born, in a good time. But now we've got there's a little calf right over here next to them that was born in December. And if you'll remember, in December there was a few days in there where the temperature was like really, really cold. And so
Mhm.
it's, when you have baby calves born outside in 10-degree weather, and then you have to put blankets on them, you have to do all this stuff. It gets, it can be a long night if it happens in the middle of the night because calves are born at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're born at two
Right.
o'clock a day. They're born
Yeah.
12 o'clock midnight.
We can't quite
There's
time that,
no
right, Farmer
schedule, so
Chris?
you just no. There's no way, and that's the difficult part about being a dairy farmer. You're on call 24/7. It does not matter. But I have to say that our family has pretty much bought in, and so my sister, my brother-in-law, their two kids, my two kids, my wife, we're all dairy farmers. We do it all. When we go on
That's awesome.
vacation, my mom, who really probably doesn't want to, like a couple of weeks ago, we pretty much all of us went on vacation, and my mom has lived on this farm for 50, 60 years,
Wow.
and so she don't want me to tell her age, but she's way on up there. But she had to feed bottle calves. She had to feed all the calves. She had to take care and watch and make sure nothing was calving so that she could get a neighbor. So it's just a commitment that we make
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
dairy farmers to raise our kids this way and to live on a farm and take care of the animals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to produce a pretty awesome product for all of us to enjoy. Farmer Chris, what's your favorite dairy product that you like to enjoy thanks to your cows?
Oh, it's ice cream. I'm going to eat ice cream
Oh,
every single day. There's not many days I drink a glass and I usually drink a glass of milk at before I go to bed. But sometime through the day, I'm going to eat ice cream, whether it's just in a blizzard or an ice cream cone or something, because ice cream's my
hmm.
favorite.
Oh, I
And
I would have to be right there
we
with you.
drink
I
right
love
out
it.
between my two boys, probably drink a gallon of milk every other day.
Oh my goodness.
So we go through about 4 gallons of milk a day in our house.
Wow.
A week, four
Oh,
gallons a week.
that's crazy. I would love to know everyone that's joining us today. What's your favorite dairy product? While Farmer Chris answered another question or two, let us know in the chat what your favorite dairy product is. Is it cheese? Is it ice cream? Personally, I love Greek yogurt with fruit. That's one of my favorites. Is it just a good cold glass of chocolate milk? Let us know what it is in the chat. Farmer Chris, while they let us know, I have a good question from Pathways of Grace Christian Academy. They're wondering, when will Little Bit or any of these calves start producing milk on their own?
Um, they will start producing milk when they have their first calf, which will be sometime after their 2 year old. They turn two, so they
Okay.
have their second-year-old birthday. I guess you should say they will have a calf, and then uh, after they have that calf, they'll produce milk. Probably for somewhere around 305 days, and then we start. At that time they would be turned dry and not produce milk for hopefully approximately 260 days, and then they would calve in again. But a
Gotcha.
cow, pretty much most everybody breeds their cows to calve in on their two when they're 2 years old, and then that's when they produce milk.
Interesting. So they're pregnant for about 9 months, same thing as a human. Then they have their first calf, and they can't produce milk until they have their first calf. And then they join the milking herd. And then that cycle we followed all year, that's the same cycle that they follow, which is what their calf follows. So that's pretty neat. It's just a
Right.
constant, easy flow on the farm. Love that. We've had a lot of folks say that Mrs. Stewart's second graders vote ice cream is also their favorite, and ice cream and milk were the winners. Where'd that one go? We're the winners at GBA. Got lots of, yeah, I think a lot of people are with you on the ice cream thing, Farmer Chris. I think, Mrs. Hornbach's class also said ice cream and
It's
yogurt. So,
and it really doesn't matter what kind of ice cream. It's just ice cream. So
right?
I'm not going to lean. I'm not going to lean towards chocolate. It'll be the last to choose, but I'm always going to award strawberry or butter pecan, something like that. It's great.
Yeah, agreed. Farmer Chris, I want to just circle back around to one question that we had mentioned earlier. You had just said how you have multiple different breeds of cows on your farm. Can you just explain what that means? Maybe why did you choose to have different breeds? And does that mean the milk is different, or are they all still dairy cows? What does that mean to be different breeds?
Um, all of them produce milk. Your Guernseys and your Jerseys, and preferably your Jerseys, produce milk that's really high in what's called butter fat, which is the amount of butter that's actually in their milk, and it's a thicker milk with for your jerseys and your Guernseys,
Mhm.
and that goes that helps you, I guess, when it talks about money or it talks about the quality of your milk being higher in butter fat, and that's kind of what you want. But the seven breeds would be Ayrshire, Brown Swiss, Guernsey, Holstein, Jersey, Milk and Shorthorn, and then Red and White Holstein. For us, we do we did it because it helped with the showing. My niece and
Yeah.
my nephew, they at one time they showed Ireshires and Swiss. Now they primarily show Red and White Holstein and Black and White Holstein. My two kids show Milk and Shorthorns and Guernseys.
Hmm.
We've not yet had anybody show any jerseys on the farm, but we have some jerseys here just simply because um, they were here. We had some that was here from years ago, and they've had to have calves, and we keep all of our heifers. And my
Hmm.
grandmother, years and a long time ago, she would take the Jersey and she'd make like homemade custard and homemade ice cream and those type of things at
Oh, that
Thanksgiving
sounds
and at
amazing.
Christmas, just because that milk is just so much richer and thicker, and
Mhm.
it's easier to cook with that Jersey cow milk.
That's cool. Very cool. So it's just like different breeds of dogs, right? They're all still cows, just like the different breeds of dogs are all still dogs. They just maybe slightly make a different component levels in their milk, but makes a nice mixed milk for your herd. And like you said, it gives everyone an opportunity to show different cows. They all kind of have their own temperaments and their own little specialty things they like to do. I feel like Jerseys tend to like to do the little tongue thing. They're often sticking their tongue out. Maybe you see that in other
Right.
breeds too. But that's really cool. I love that you guys are able to kind of highlight all the different breeds on your farm. Farmer Chris, we have absolutely loved having you on today. Thank you so much to you and your mom for helping us today with our chat and getting to connect with you. I want to wrap up with one last question, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'd love to know. What's your why? You kind of left a career that was a little bit more 9 to 5. I'm sure there was still a lot that came home. It's administration, but you left something that's kind of very separate from family, and now all of a sudden you're just it's always at home. So what was your why for shifting back into the dairy industry and now continuing as a dairy farmer?
Well, um, I grew up on the dairy. My
Hmm.
sister and I, we were raised here. My dad milked here his entire life. It's a it's a pathway of life that we've known since we were kids. My dad was adamant that she and I both were going to go to college and we were going to have a job, and then after we could do it as a hobby after work or on the weekends and those type of things. And then so when I was able to retire, um, I was able to retire, and 20 years ago, when my wife and I got married, she showed cattle. She had a big interest in their cattle farm and different things, so that kind of just helped and worked
Hmm.
everything together. And we had kids, and we raised our kids, and they've kind of bought into it. My niece and nephew have bought into the farming life. Now my nephew works, has a full time job. My sister teaches. My brother in law works and has a job. And my wife works for University of Kentucky Extension. So we all worked at some point in time. I just, when I was able to retire from the school system, I came back and just started doing this. And we made some improvements to the dairy. We've done some things. I had the dream of opening my dairy up to classrooms like you all. I did not know anything about Discover Dairy or the Adopt a Calf classroom. I would always take a couple of calves every year to the elementary schools here in the county, talk to them about milk and talk to them when I work. So it's allowed me to open up. We've had some field trips come to the farm already this year. We've got two or three more, I think, coming later on before school's out. So that's just something that I've wanted to do, was to show this farm, because dairy um, is very difficult to make. But I want everybody to understand where ice cream comes from, where cheese comes from, where the product comes from,
Yeah.
and going through this program and running this farm allows me to share that, and it allows me to open my farm up and share my farm with other people. And
Yeah,
that was the goal when I retired, was to do that. So it just
I
took me a
love
little while to get my family to buy into that. And
it.
because they're not as much on entertaining people or keeping things clean or keeping things organized or putting the work into it, but I do have to applaud them. My sister's family and my family have basically just, you know, agreed and said, "Hey, we're going to do this, and we'll do this with you, and we'll support it, and we'll go
Yeah.
from there." When a lot of times I know they don't want to do it, but yet we're, we when we field trips, some of the FFA kids and 4-H kids come down and they help with the kids and they demonstrate things. So we make it a community event. We try to, we give kids ice cream when you come to the farm. So we try to make it an event, and that's kind of the why. I mean, I hope one of either my niece, my nephew, I'm not one of my kids. I hope somebody wants to continue the dairy if they're able to. Um, when as they grow older and keep it running and go from there, because it's a great way of life, but
Yeah.
you just got to be able to know what you're sacrificing if you're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Farmer Chris, we greatly appreciate your commitment to providing a very healthy, safe, wholesome home for these cows, but then also to share that experience with all of us through this program, and also just opening your barn doors to visitors and to tours and things. So thank you so much for just being a wonderful member of your community, sharing the dairy story, helping us create our own dairy story. So we know that the dairy products we consume are safe and healthy and wholesome. And now you all can say that you know a dairy farmer, and you can always go to Farmer Chris if you have any questions, or us too. We'd always want you to ask questions, learn, engage, and know that your milk is always safe. And Farmer Chris, I'll let you know we've got a lot of folks saying thank you for so much for this opportunity. That one came from Miss Simmons. Another one from Coker's first grade class. They were saying thank you for this opportunity. We learned so much about the dairy industry. We've got more that said we were so excited to see Fancy. Thank you so much. Pathways of Grace Christian Academy. Thank you for this great opportunity. They've loved following a little bit, and it goes on and on and on. So thank you so much, Farmer Chris, for doing this, and thank you all for joining this program. We have absolutely loved having you, and we hope you join this program again next year. Farmer Chris, anything else to wrap us
Well,
up today?
nope. Thank you all for following these three calves. I know they don't look too excited right now because they've all kind of laid back down, but I think they've been excited. They've not really enjoyed the pictures. They fit well in this farm because nobody here likes to take pictures except for my wife. So they've not, but we've had a blast. And if any of you are at the state fair, come to the barn where they house all the dairy cows. It's the first weekend. It's when all the dairy cows are there. So come over there and see us, and we'll let you pet on them and rub them, and maybe even walk them or see
Yeah.
what's going on. So come join us.
Absolutely. Awesome. Go join at the local fair at the state fair. That would be awesome. You get to see your three calves and you get to check out the whole fair. So why not? All right. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you
Thank
all
you
for
all.
joining us